What's up, everybody? I am back with a brief video that I want to talk about. Been wanting to talk about for at least a couple of days now, and it's about the new Batman show that's on Amazon, the uh, Cape Crusader, which has been sitting in ether for a long while. As a matter of fact, man, they announced it, I think, around the DC fandom. I think that's about as long as, yeah, at least, around 2020 again to 2021. They've been like talking about this, and now it's out. And I definitely have some thoughts on it. I seen a little bit of it, and yeah, I have some thoughts. But before I could continue, please do me a huge favor and like and subscribe. Share this with your friends, and let me know what you guys thought of the show. Now, I want to start off by saying that, with some positives, the animation, or at least in terms of like the atmosphere of and the aesthetic of the show, is very good. It's supposed to be set in the 1930s, so they got that vibe going on. Very much harkens to Fleischer type of Superman mixed with the very, very earliest of Batman comics. At that time, just Bat-Man. So, especially with the design of Bruce's costume in the show. So kudos to the animators behind that. And the voice acting is very good. So kudos to that. And also they definitely like push the edge in terms of like the violence. It's not like gratuitous like The Boys or anything like that, but because Bruce Timm is helping with the production of this show, but he wasn't like the sole person behind, like, because people really got on board when he put his name on this project, because he was part of the animated series, in which is still revered to this day as one of the best TV shows ever created, especially animated. But Bruce Timm was the one who did a lot of writing. But of course, it was an ensemble team, so he wasn't solely responsible for the greatness of that show either. But it was like a team effort, and they knew how to write, like, just outside of the two-parters, just like truncated, singular 22-minute episodic adventures here. And you get so in depth with each villain that you're introducing, and you tell us such a meaty story in each episode, and you get to dive into the psyche of particular characters and how they compare and contrast to Batman, which makes a great story, but also a great Batman story, because Batman's rogues gallery is like the other side of his coin. They're like mirror images in certain aspects of what Batman or Bruce Wayne are. Now that perfectly segues into my biggest issue. So I'm gonna start getting to my issues with the show, and namely, like, the gender bending of Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin. Now, let me first start off by saying race swapping and gender bending isn't inherently a bad thing, but there has to be like the actors involved had to really really heighten or elevate the character in a particular way that uh, uh, that overcomes that thing. Also, it has a another part of it. Gotta have some kind of narrative reason behind this, mostly, but it it, and it can't be just something like I use Jamie Foxx's Electro in the Spider-Man movie. Now, of course, Max Dillon Electro, in the comics has been a white guy. Matter of fact, I think he's still a white guy in the comics. But I'm glad it kind of does kind of things separately for the most part, as long as Kevin Feige doesn't, you know, mess with too much with the comic book industry. But irregardless, Max Dillon, by and large, isn't on the same tier as like Doc Ock or Green Goblin or Venom in terms of recognizable characters. I'm pretty sure most people know who Electro is, but he's not widely popular like somebody like Green Goblin would be. So you can slightly get away with, race swapping a character that at best is a B tier villain. Well, I say at best, it's definitely like a B tier villain in terms of Spider-Man's Rose Gallery, and you can get away with it being in the mainline story if you're making like a Spider-Man animated series or something like that. You can probably get away with that. However, if you're doing something like Kid Crusader where it's supposed to be set in the 1930s, there are some things you just cannot do. Now, before I dive into that, I just lost my train of thought. But you're if it's set in the 1930s in this show, you can't. I'm sorry, the whole DEI thing. You can just tell they just start typing away behind the scenes. May not be a biopic, but it still has a setting where there are certain aspects that has to be maintained for the realism, in a way to have some level of realism, especially if you're purposely set in the 1930s. There are certain 1930s things that has to be adhered to, otherwise why not set in present day? Now, there's certain characters and how they behave seems super forced and kind of hacky. The way it's being what their line of dialogue is or how they are, their appearance are. And it seems like the writers or so-called writers, I don't know these days, DEI type of little, not company, but little boardrooms and stuff, to pick apart certain things just to, make it seem like they want to rewrite history altogether because it doesn't seem appropriate or something like that. But you got Oswalda Cobblepot, and there's no narrative reason why you're deciding to gender bend the Penguin into this body positivity type of character. Because the whole purpose of the Penguin, as I mentioned before, he's supposed to have been a dark mirror reflection of Bruce Wayne. Like if Bruce Wayne mishandles his money and becomes like uncouth in his Bruce Wayne side and irresponsible, he will turn into somebody like the Penguin, because he pretty much has no scruples in terms of because he has business mindset, but he is completely like he carries on the air of high society, but he doesn't hesitate to do back alley deals or just black market type of deals or whatever like that. And he's supposed to be a gross. I don't want to say gross like he's Clayface or anything like that, but you look at somebody like uh I want to say he's not supposed to be pleasant to look at, but he's supposed to be like just abnormal where it puts people off. Like you see something like Danny DeVito in Batman Returns, or a little tamer, somebody like the interpretation of the Penguin in the animated series. And he is just like, if you remember that, the Penguin's Reform episode in Batman animated series, he's trying to turn on a new leaf, but other high society people want to mess with him, thinking like, oh, he's like doesn't deserve of love, or they look down on him because of his short stature and portly appearance and his beaky nose and things like that, which that is the whole thing with him. But now you gotta strip that away with this Oswaldo Cobblepot, where it's like, if you would have stuck to it, that's what I wanted to, that I lost my train of thought about. It's just like you are just putting it in there just to. Crap, I keep going back and forth like my mind. I was like, it's right there that I want to bring up to make a comparison, but you're slapping a lipstick on Oswald Cobblepot, and it's just like, oh, we got this character, and it's like, hey, you got a whole bunch of female Batman rogues villains that you could, if you want like a female centered villain you want to focus on for Batman to deal with, which by the way he rarely appears. He seems like he's a sideline character of his own show. You're just looking at the point of view of everybody else, which normally is not that big of a deal, but it's Batman shows. If it's like based off the Gotham comics, basically like what is those that running series back in the day, like the called Gotham something, where you focus on the police and Batman shows up like every so often in the background, so we get the point of view of the cops. If you're telling something like that, it makes more narrative sense that we barely see Batman because he's supposed to be like an ethereal thing. But that's not how you set it up. But anyway, you got Oswaldo. Why couldn't you just pick Poison Ivy or some other female villain that Batman has plenty of? Talia al Ghul, Lady Shiva. You got Harley Quinn, but she's not the front and center. I'll get to her in a second. But you decided, for no narrative reason, because you if you maintain like the like Oswald Cobblepot thing and left it, then it's not really much of a difference. You don't change anything. Now it'll be a different story if it was like, oh, this is the daughter of the Penguin that Batman's fighting. Then okay, you're doing something new and you're introducing a new character, and she's just the daughter of the Penguin. Because there's a canon. I'm gonna leave it right there. You're not breaking canon. Yeah, that's what I was losing my train of thought of. It's like you're gender swapping or race swapping somebody that is on a particular level and it's supposed to be the main person. If you're breaking canon, gender swapping or race swapping is like, narratively speaking, it's a hit and miss kind of situation. I can't say it doesn't work, but the odds is 50-50 depending on how well you write the character in terms of like how they are from the ground up. then you could probably make that work. It's like Jamie Foxx's Electro. He inherently, because you got a great actor in Jamie Foxx, but also like the writers behind the scenes, despite the whole gimmicky, nerdy, goofy, ugly thing, and then get the powers and turn hot. Besides all that, they really built that character somewhat. Some might disagree, but it's a stark contrast between what we got here, where it just seems like, okay, what you're doing with this. And you can't, and people make fun of the Penguin. You can't really make fun of like Oswalda like that, because I don't know, it's just, it kind of, it, I don't say ruins, but it just seems like, okay, you just want a frumpy character, a frumpy lady character that because you want to make something of your own, and which is like a thing with a lot of comic book writers these days, making original characters so they can get like residuals and like, oh, I made this is our thing, kind of, like your little signature and what have you. But it's just like how same way I feel about Punchline. But even with Punchline in the DC comics, and don't get me started, I do not like that character, but even still, it is still slightly better than what you got with Oswalda, because at least Punchline is an original idea. I'm not saying Oswalda is not an original idea, quote unquote. You pretty much took the Penguin. It's the same aesthetic, same outer appearance, same gimmick, but you put lipstick and a dress on it and just said like, oh, well, this is our Penguin now. It's like, no, it does not work that way. And most people are turned off by this. This is like, needless. She has her moments, don't get me wrong, but she only shows up like at least a little bit in I won't say a little bit, but like one episode, and like there's like 10 episodes, and you don't see her again. It's kind of wild. Because the way you set it up and with the certain images and trailers, make it seem like, oh, she's going to be a big deal. Because in the past handful of years since Matt Reeves' The Batman movie, the Penguin's been getting like a bump up in popularity, and right when you're on like a good gravy train, you pull something like this, and it's like, just stick to what people in general know before you start messing with it, because you are completely going off the rails with this particular character. Like, even with the Harley Quinn show, you still had, like, I know he's like, well, there's an Elseworld thing you can do, like, well, no, you're telling like an original tale. People are coming into a brand new show. It's like with Beware the Batman or the 2004 The Batman. It's a brand new show, and people are coming to see a Batman show with recognizable characters that we know from the comics the way they are in standard. Of course, the only tweaks that we are expecting is terms of maybe design or maybe motivation, because the Penguin is in like Matt Reeves' Batman is definitely different from the 2004's The Batman TV series, and definitely different from Danny DeVito's Batman for Burton film, and definitely different from the animated series. But it all comes from the same tree trunk of the character, and then all the branches are different takes, or at least different design wise, but we still know that is the Penguin. Because the Batman had the Penguin with orange hair. Now no other variations of the Penguin has orange hair, but that doesn't take anybody out of it. Nobody really complained. And of course, they had that Penguin, because I've been binge watching that show for my next review. They had that Penguin doing different types of martial arts, so that way he can go toe to toe with Batman in a fight, rather than what you saw in previous iterations of the Penguin, or even some stuff after that. We don't see him actually doing any type of hand-to-hand combat. That's what makes that particular Penguin unique from the others. Or even Colin Farrell, he done something very unique, but still maintain the ethos of the Penguin. This is very lazy, and you got to take the criticism. Don't be throwing around the word like misogynist or racist or whatever like that when people have legit critiques here, and this is a legit critique where you just clearly did it just to did it, and there's no narrative reason. Now I'm gonna go off that. Now get into the whole Harley Quinn of it all. Now, the design of Harley Quinn. Matter of fact, let me pull up like a little thing here because I just want to at least show you. There's been different interpretations of Harley Quinn, of various designs, but there's been definitely misses, like the Hot Topic Harley Quinn, which people kind of just completely thrown off by. But I think widely accepted and beloved still is the Mad Love interpretation of Harley Quinn, which is like S tier design, no notes given. Now, of course, there's been like the roller derby version, which is also very solid. The Arkham series Harley Quinn, her designs is, each one just got progressively better. Where, which I'm not sure with certain video games and certain TV shows, like the Velma TV show. I don't know, certain people behind the scenes of these shows seems to want to, or video games seems to want, for the most part, I don't want to say all, but for the most part, there's been like a staggering increase in desexifying certain female characters, because God forbid people want to see a sexually appealing woman. Female beauty is appreciated, accentuating their femininity. It doesn't make you a pig about it. Even like I talk to other women, some of my in my close circles of friends, some I knew casually and some I don't know at all, and I asked all the same thing, and for the most part, except for like maybe a few, they all agree that they like seeing like good looking women on screen or in a video game or something like that, because it's like they're pleasing to look at. But that isn't the main thing about them. Like Zatanna is pleasing to look at with a fishnets and everything like that, but she's also a badass, and she has layers to the character that heightens the visual aspects of what we like about the character. That is a thing where it's sorely lacking, in some aspects. Now, somebody pointed out about the recent Spider-Man game with Mary Jane, where you see the actual actress that she's based off of is a very attractive woman in real life. Or even with the most recent Star Wars Outlaw game that's about to come out in a couple of weeks, where the actual actress model for the main character of the game is a whole lot more beautiful than the main woman in the video game character. It's like, stark contrast. Let me give you guys a good look-see here. Here we go. Very different. It's like, that's not the, it's from number two. You kind of lowered her look slightly. It's not like she's ugly, she's not. But it's just like a stark contrast uh, from what we see here to what we see here. It's like a little bit more like, soft, Still got, a great character, uh, great written character in this game. But you can just tell that at some point down the line, when this came out until we got here, the softer features seems like it was dialed down. And like we got the Harley I was like, honestly, what is this compared to like the other Harley Quinn costumes? This is another thing. You just kind of like turn her frumpy dumpy, and this is really not. I know it's another interpretation of Harley Quinn, but it's just like it's like people have been doing some type of power play into completely getting off the rails from where Harley Quinn's, what she, is and what she stands for and all this other stuff. She seems like a more of like a mime than the bubbly character that we know her to be. And it seems like and you losing her colors. And it's like, do y'all know even what y'all even want to do with Harley Quinn at this point? And like, the whole Asian aspect doesn't really bother me. I don't think it's really that big deals for most people. It's just like the design look, not the race, but the design look. It just seems very, very just, frumpy, and it, I don't know, the whole Fleischer thing. That part is not a problem. It's just like, I don't know. It's like Harley Quinn has like a particular style that you kind of stripped away from, and then also this part is not even my biggest hot take. My issue, because yes, Harley Quinn is bisexual, and I kind of turned this whole thing off while I'm sitting doing my rant here. It's like, look at it. It's just like, like the Fleischer thing is like, yeah, that's cool. This is 1930s. That part is cool. Like, I don't mind the whole, having like an Asian Harley Quinn. And that's not, the issue, at least for me. But this whole, like, you taking away her style and what makes her so unique as a character. You strip all that away and turn her into a freaking mime, essentially. And you strip away all the bright colors about her. It's like this muted bullcrap here. And we all love Harley Quinn, and you kind of like, at least the people behind the show, really dial that down from what we know her to be. Even with like Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, still had maintained some pathos of what the character is supposed to be, and and I feel it's just that they wanted to go as far away, year by year. They're going as far away as possible from her origin story, Mad Love, to how she met up with the Joker, her getting infatuated with him pretty much like manipulating her, and then become like a, partners in crime, which is part of her origin story. But people are too, in my opinion, people are too hung up. Certain people, not everybody. Certain people are too hung up on the fact that, excuse me, but the abuse aspect of the relationship between Joker and Harley. And now nobody supports that. Clearly that's, very wrong. Very, very wrong. And nobody should do it to their partners. But like with Krypton blowing up, like with Batman's parents getting shot, like with Uncle Ben getting shot, like with Abin Sur dying, that is a very integral part of a lot of those heroes' origin stories. And say what you will, Joker is a part of Harley Quinn's origin story, like it or not. And I argue that if it wasn't for the Joker, Harley Quinn wouldn't be the Harley Quinn that we know. I mean, not all the way, but definitely a significant portion of the way before she decides to go her own way and evolve beyond the Joker. But he still took her to a significant way. I'm pretty sure she wasn't very knowledgeable about gadgets and stuff like the certain guns that she has that shoot out all kinds of confetti or a lot of dumb stuff, or because at the most she was very good at being a gymnast, but that is about as far as she knew on her own. Hanging with the Joker, she knew how like, probably a myriad of things, like maybe carjacking, or she knew how to like hotwire certain things, or know her fair share of making a bomb. I'm pretty sure she wasn't familiar with that until she started hanging out with the Joker. I'm pretty sure she has some fair knowledge about chemistry because of the Joker. There are certain things that during the long stretch of working with the Joker, Harley would have picked up on some things that she did not knew before. Now that she kind of incorporated into her own ethos, to where she makes a formidable character in her own right, and took it and utilized that stuff in her own way to be as physically capable down the line. If you taking away Joker, you're taking away all of that, and you just want to just give her something. And it's like, well, she doesn't need the Joker. Well, no, she does need the Joker, like it or not. And that's my argument here. I'm not saying it's okay to like, mistreat women or anything like that. That is not what I'm arguing. But that's just like the negative consequences of her, because almost every girl has their own version of like a toxic relationship, whereas like medium or extreme. But everybody, not just with women, everybody has their own fair share of toxic relationships in their past in some form or another. But you made that choice, you got into it, you just kind of learned from that. And that's what Harley essentially did. She just learned from that. It took her a long time, but she did. And it kind of irks me this kind of like really was like the nail in the coffin, not nail in the coffin, but just the last straw, where it's like, okay, y'all clearly just like go bend over backwards just to push her connection with the Joker away, so that way it's just kind of non-existent, because you're trying to rewrite it like this setting of the 1930s. You're trying to rewrite history just so you can make you feel comfortable, writers. But people who are fans of Harley Quinn would like to have like the whole kick and caboodle, but also, and it's supposed to be funny. It's like, not really laugh once with this character. Harley's supposed to be a fun ride to be on.
Phrasing.
But then you get her into a relationship with Renee Montoya. Now, that part, like, nobody really is, like, okay, yeah, Renee Montoya is known to be a lesbian in the comics for a very long time, probably since the New 52, where they kind of established that she's a lesbian. But Harley Quinn is like bisexual and everything like that. But, she probably at this point had like a long relationship with Poison Ivy, about as long as maybe she had with the Joker, but slightly more healthier. Well, let's say slightly because, in my opinion, it's kind of like extreme in a way because they you read certain comics or watching the Harley Quinn show, it's just like you're Google gaga over each other to a point where it's like, okay, you're slobbering on each other like you're still in your honeymoon phase, and it's kind of like, and you turn, and Harley turns into some kind of like, childlike attitude about her when she's around Harley. Bubbly is one thing, but it's just like, I don't know, if you read certain things and see the behavior, like both y'all are accomplished doctors, adults, that you can be goofy and stuff, but y'all gotta still be like competent people, adults. It's kind of like, if you ever seen the Rush Hour movie with like Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. Chris Tucker obviously is like the jokester and stuff, but he still acts like a freaking adult. He's not like nonstop, with it. So, because he's still a competent cop in his own right. While you see somebody like Harley and Ivy, y'all still, doctors. One's a scientist and the other, is a therapist. So it's like, or psychiatrist. And it's like, y'all tend to forget that sometimes. Well, not with Poison Ivy, but like with Harley, some writers tend to forget she is a doctor. And I really wish they incorporated that a lot more. I mean, they do so in this, but I give it that. And in like the Joker 2 Folie à Deux, like clearly they probably gonna be bringing that part into the film. So yes, thank you. But okay, we need to like, find like a sweet spot with Harley. And I argue the Arkham games version of Harley Quinn is like the sweet spot of where we all agree universally that is pretty much Harley Quinn. Or even James Gunn's Suicide Squad version of Harley Quinn, like that is also a sweet spot. That's like, okay, maintain that. Just that. Don't make her Deadpool or anything like that, where she constantly breaking the fourth wall in the comics and whatever like that. Just maintain something like that, in my opinion, and that is like the pitch perfect Harley Quinn, in my opinion. But then into this relationship with Renee Montoya, who is this high-ranking position in the police, because I think it's still like a Commissioner Gordon. Wait, hold on, let me see, like, because she's she's in like a high position in the GCPD, and it's like, and she's like openly in a relationship with a woman, and it's like, guys, you're set the time period. You said it. You said it as the premise, the whole point in the surrounding of the show. Now I know it's not a biopic, but there's a particular standard where know your surroundings. In the 1930s, unlike 2024, there isn't like women outwardly in a relationship with each other, doing PDA in front of view of a lot of people, and because unlike today where we don't treat it like too much of a big deal, yeah, sure, whatever. Uh, but back then it was very frowned upon. They would like throw something at them or anything like that. Highly unlikely. I mean, you don't have to show all that stuff, but kind of maintain the historical surroundings. And what I mean by that is, if I compared it to something like The Princess and the Frog. Now, they wasn't overtly, talking about racism in the South and everything like that of Southern Louisiana, but you can just infer, because the competent writers and animators behind that show, where you see Tatiana's mom, taking her daughter from their ritzy neighborhood, taking a trolley all the way down to the shantytown neighborhood where all the black folks are. So you can just use your brain and infer, like, okay, there's, racial and societal classes here where the black folks are living in kind of hobbles compared to the white neighborhood. And because you got to maintain the type of time period that they're, making this story in. So you got to maintain certain rules pertaining to the time period you're sitting in. So in the case of the Woke Crusader, you don't have to make a reference to the racial bigotry of the time period, but also, like, you don't need to be overtly about it, but covertly about it. Because, like, you can have Harley and Renee in a relationship, even though, like, I think they kind of have to set up the Joker and to get into Harley Quinn part. You kind of, like, cut out not only the middleman, but the beginning man. But Renee Montoya could have just been in a relationship with some other new character. It wouldn't have been a big deal. But whatever, Renee Montoya could have, like, this, let's say, like, this new character Sally, and she meets Sally in this coffee shop, and Renee tries to, or like Sally tries to touch, like hold, Renee's hand, but she pulls back, and it's like, no, you know why we can't do this, but I love you, and it's like, don't be so loud, and it's like, I have to work very hard to make, get to this rank. I can't blow it. You know how it is. You don't have to say it, overtly, but you can hint or infer just by the way she reels back, she whispers, she's, cagey about the subject and matter and things like that, because it's the 1930s. That kind of stuff isn't cool. Matter of fact, the fact that she's Latina, you don't have to, like, have it overtly, people saying racist stuff, but it's like certain people, not everybody, but at least come across a couple of people on the sidelines, giving her, like, dirty looks or saying, like, stuff underneath their breath, like, or just condescending undertones here and there, because you got to maintain the semi-realism, because if you don't, and you just make it like, oh, free love, and like, I'm making out with my lesbian girlfriend in front of a whole crowd in a coffee shop with no care in the world, that shatters, the illusion a bit, because it's like, y'all won't be able to do something like that in this time period. It's kind of wild. What else? Oh, now we're gonna shift over to, like, Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon. Now, they made them black. Now, comparing to like Jamie Foxx Electro, again, you can get away with that, but is a stark difference because the time period they're in. He's commissioner, and the daughter's, shouting out very feminist type of rhetoric, and or just certain diatribes. That's like, why you need to throw that in there, for what reason, for Barbara Gordon to even say that. Barbara Gordon, like many interpretations, even though it's not like a very high tech era, but she should know certain things about like certain tech just to maintain the essence of Barbara Gordon, very tech savvy. But she's not sounding like down with the patriarchy type of attitude. Just like she's like a go getter. She wants to get into the mix and be like her father, but in the guise of like the whole Batman situation. And clearly they're trying to do the whole Matt Reeves Batman thing, trying to make a black Jim Gordon, and it's like you can't get away with it in this show. Honestly, he's a decent character here. I'm not totally bothered by it character wise, but in terms of like, okay, there's certain like realism you have to maintain to some capacity. Matt Reeves Batman can get away with that because it's more modern day. I mean, at the very least, you can have set it into the 70s. That way, you can remotely buy a high-ranking police official that's black. But I mean, y'all may not agree with what I'm saying, but that's fine. But it's just clearly certain people behind the scenes are just trying to apply 2024 standards to this show that should not apply given the setting. I do not care for how they do Harley Quinn or been doing with Harley Quinn as of late. Renee Montoya is a little out of whack, not completely egregious, but I think like my biggest issues come from Harley Quinn and Oswalda Cobblepot. I think those are just lazy or mishandled at best. I just do not care for it. It is just like woke Cape Crusader, basically. But in conclusion, is it's not a good sign where it's like you're releasing all the episodes at once. Where I think in the past year or so, a lot of TV shows have been, aside from maybe Netflix, have been slowly walking away from dumping all their episodes in one go. Like with The Boys, it's like always like a couple of episodes, at a time. So you can get like a water cooler talk kind of thing going around with others. So that way you can let an episode sink in for a while and can't wait for the next episode. Clearly there's like, some higher ups like figure like, we've been holding on to this for God knows how long. We finally got off the ground and it's like, meh. But they got some stuff that I do like. I can't say is the worst I've seen. I think Acolyte, as far as like this year is concerned with TV shows, I think that show is probably like the worst of the worst in terms of narrative structure, like character structure. It's just god awful. So this is still, fairly good. I'm saying it's not the egregious thing, but aside from what I pointed out, because that is just like, wow. Y'all went way overboard with certain decisions that would not make sense. But anyway, that is just my thoughts on the Cape Crusader. I didn't want to do a whole full like spoiler review on it because it wasn't really my cup of tea. Aside from certain things, like I said, I didn't hate it, but it's just and it's like a just below fine. It's just like it's there, but definitely a very low tier in terms of out of all the Batman TV shows that we ever had. It's very low on the totem pole. Uh, but anyway, I will see you guys in a few minutes. Because speaking of Batman, what I'm gonna be doing, we're going back to the YouTube tier list where I'm gonna be ranking from worst to best Batman Rogues Gallery. Now, mind you, I got a lot. I'm trying to hit like the as many D-listers all the way up to the many A-listers that's relatively known, even certain spots here and there. But I couldn't get everyone. I try to get as much as I can. Didn't want to let the video take forever, but you'll be happy with like the amount I got going on. Is in the upper 80s the amount of characters that I selected in terms of ranks. It's gonna be the biggest ranking system I've done for the channel. But look forward to that, and I'll see you all soon. And let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the Woke Crusader. Did you enjoy it? Did certain things put you off? What you think they needed to correct on? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. I mean, you might have a different opinion from me. I'm open to hearing you guys out about that. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care.